Hello, we are
Hello.
talking with Oksana Vovchenko. She's joining us from Winnipeg, Canada. And we are talking about new sources of energy for humanity. Hi.
Hello. I think that evolution of civilization always has been tightly related to energy sources, starting from controlling fire, what actually animals do not do, and using wood at first, and then coal, and then oil, and even conceptually different type of energy like electricity. We need energy to build our civilization all around. Otherwise, we would not have ceramic, glass, metals. And at this contemporary stage, we would not be able to power our cities, our large cities, which we live in. And humanity always dreamed about some source of energy, like perpetuum mobile, some source of energy that could be cheap or even free.
Right. Yeah. So the obvious source of energy here on Earth is the sun. We gather plenty of energy from our star. The problem is that we are not able fully use it, even with those devices that we have created recently. The main principles are that the energy from sun was always used to fuel the life on Earth through the photosynthesis, the process of converting the light energy into the chemical bonds of the carbon substances, which can be broken later on to retrieve the energy again. Also, we have the energy of the inner areas of the Earth, which are still quite hot. Still quite high temperatures, and we can see these energies. Recently, we witnessed the earthquake that killed about 20,000 people in Turkey and northern Syria. So a lot of energy is inside the earth as well. What we use right now mostly is the fossil fuels, which plainly speaking is still the energy of the sun, which was conserved and stored in organic bonds, the chemical bonds of the fossil fuels for millions of years. That's the result of the ancient photosynthesis and then consuming this organic material by the animal materials. And that pretty much is the main source of the energy today, which is oil and coal. Also, we use the hydro energy, which is the power is created by the kinetic power of the water falling from the height. We built power stations on the rivers, and that's how we actually create the electric power. We have the nuclear power, which is sourced from the nuclear reactions, which yield a lot of energy as well. The most innovative ones are the solar power, the wind turbines. So this is pretty much what we have on our plate today. Those things are very well known for everyone, maybe from grade 1 or 2. What the new things we can say today is that the COVID pandemics has shown that we can drastically decrease the consumption of energy without seriously damaging our operation. We still survived after a couple of years of really cutting down the energy consumption because of way less travel, closed factories, and which brings us to the idea that before we think about creation too much energy, we need to think whether we need that much and what the humanity is using this energy for. There are a lot of stupid ways to waste the energy. For example, one of the examples would be the cryptocurrency mining, which is very highly dependent on the energy and does not produce anything useful, but just chain blockchain calculations to provide the stable currency, which is called crypto currency, like Bitcoin and other currencies. This is just the waste of the energy. We are producing too much things, way more than the Western world actually need. On the other hand, about 2 billion people don't have the access to electric power on Earth still. So it's a pretty stupid situation where on one hand we have to produce a lot of energy and it is actually wasted because when we do not need things that we produce, and that's the case in many cases, we just dispose a lot of products and don't use them. All this is just the waste of energy. So before we talk about the new sources, we need to understand that we need to make our life to make sense. And this is quite important issue, because if we will continue to create industries that will consume unlimited amounts of energy, and they are just the waste, and they do not have the good reason to exist, then there is no point, because whatever energy we will create, it will all go to waste. Also, there are issues of environmental problems. There are some things are quite disputable, but indisputable is that the climate is warming. Even now, we can see that the winters are warmer, and obviously we have the highest level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for very, very long period of time. Again, it's disputable whether it's good or bad, because the production of the plants growing tremendously when the percentage of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is growing. So the same quantities of biological mass are able to produce more because there's more material to produce the organic matter, the organic substances. You have more carbon in the atmosphere, the plants are able to process this carbon and create the organic materials. So as to the greenhouse effect, well, it is contributing to the rise in temperatures, which is bad news for many cities that are coastal cities, and there is a real danger of raising sea levels. But again, the gaining of new territories that become more habitable because of the retreat of the polar caps and better mild climate in general is a gain for human population. So before we talk about the new sources of energy, we need to understand that everything has to come to the balance, right? The new ones, first of all, is the thermonuclear. Thermonuclear process is the process of the fusion of the lighter nuclei of the elements to create the heavier. Hydrogen is turned into helium. This process we witness in the core of the stars, in the core of the sun. This process is very difficult to achieve on Earth. We need millions of degrees the temperatures and tremendous pressure, and actually those conditions until now are more energy consuming than the outcome that we can get from the fusion reaction. Recently we had the reports that some of the innovative research has yielded better results, that actually got more energy than was invested. But again, we have this thermonuclear reactor above our heads all the time. It is a good idea to try to capture more energy from sun as well. The efficiency of our solar systems are still not that high that would allow us to convert to more greener energies. Another thing is the hydrogen. Hydrogen is the new way of using this plentiful element on Earth, which is part of the water molecule. we already have hydrogen engines, and some say that hydrogen will be as important or even more important than the fossil fuels in the coming years. The problems are to get the hydrogen out of the water. It is not easy. There are other ways to get hydrogen as well. There are some projects concerning this, which can be quite interesting. As to the thermonuclear, again, it's hard to believe that it will be the mass production of energy based on this, but who knows? It's difficult to say. The ultimate source of energy that is most efficient energetic process in the universe is the matter-antimatter interactions. Then the famous equation, energy is equal to mass multiplied by the speed of light squared, which shows the equivalence of energy and mass in the process of annihilation of the matter-antimatter pair interaction to particles like electron and the anti-particle positron. When they collide, they create actually the electromagnetic wave. The matter is 100% turned into pure energy. But the problem is when we create such interaction, it interacts too fast with anything that is close to it, because our world is based on the regular matter, and when we create any antimatter, it annihilates right away. It is hard to hold it, hard to create substantial quantities of the antimatter to use it as a fuel, but nature has prepared for us this unique process that maybe one day can do wonders, because from a very small amount of antimatter, through the interaction with ordinary matter, we can create enormous amounts of energy, which is also dangerous because we always use these things to perfect our weaponry, and we can only imagine in a nightmare what kind of weapon we can create based on antimatter. With like a couple of grams of antimatter, we can make such a powerful explosion that can destroy a lot, even way more than thermonuclear bomb, which was tested. At least once we know the very big test that was made by Soviet Union in the northern Arctic region. where they detonated the thermonuclear bomb, the Tsar bomb, so-called, and it was a very big explosion, of course. So this is the overview of our options, how we can use the innovative sources of energy. So what do you have to say?
Oh yeah, that was great overview. Thank you very much. And from all of that, what I would point out that the problem is not in energy sources themselves, because we have energy all around, but rather in making this process manageable and controllable, so that we can direct energy flows where we want to direct them and when we want, without explosions or uncontrollable flows or like that. And this is why we use currently hydrocarbon, because it's really easy to extract energy from this source and use it when I want and where I want, and feel independent or autonomous in that. The problem of humanity is mostly about control of energy.
Yeah, that's true. And when we are talking about the future development of the civilization, we have these stages, like Dyson sphere, when the civilization is able to harness the entire energy of their star, like by building a sphere around the star and consuming all the energy of the star. And even higher civilizations, the first level, we even didn't reach that one. That would be use of the energy that comes from the sun to our planet. We use only a tiniest fraction of the energy that is coming. We are in the ocean of the energy coming from the star, from the sun, and we use only a small fraction. There are even higher levels to harness the energy of the galaxy, but it's all very distant fantasies. Okay, we are very megalomanic when we are thinking about ourselves. What we have currently, what I find as a main problem, is that historically all our systems are based on the methods that has been known either for centuries or at least for about 150 years, 200 years. So it's not new technologies. If we would be building the civilization from scratch using the knowledge that we have now, we probably wouldn't be really seeking the systems to be built around the fossil fuels. We would probably try to use way more solar energy. But that's the problem. Like if you have a house and this house actually is heated by the wooden stove and everything is working well, it is hard to throw away this wooden stove and build something instead. It's just not practical. And our world is like this old house with this wooden stove. And changing everything when it's already working and already in place is quite hard. And that way we have this inertia that we go on and continue to use the same ways. Also, with the alternative energy, like electric cars, there is some hypocrisy, because we all know that in order to produce those cars, we might use a lot of old way energy. And it only creates an illusion sometimes that our energy turns into a greener one. Yes, the one who is driving Tesla doesn't burn any fossil fuel. But in order to build this Tesla, and especially in order to produce this hydro energy, electric energy, which is needed to charge the batteries of those cars, might use a lot of old ways of producing the energy. So it can be just something that does not necessarily manifest the breakground change in our energy consumption, because we charge those cars from the grid, and the grid gets its energy from the old sources. We must say that a substantial percentage of the energy in the developed countries is coming from nuclear plants.
Yes, exactly.
Again, the nuclear disasters making so much news and fear that in some countries they are trying to phase out all their nuclear plants. If you treat this problem scientifically, this is not right, because the amount of nuclear fuel that you need in order to produce the same energy compared to the old fossil fuels, like if you check out the numbers, it's a tremendous amount of fossil fuel you need in order to make up for the nuclear fuel, right? Also, the innovative ways to build the nuclear plants and treat the nuclear waste, they are very safe. If you check the statistics and the numbers, so it's mostly result of the public campaigns against them, rather than reasonable treatment of the facts and the situation. In Canada, in Ontario, there are a lot of nuclear plants, for example, and most of our electric energy in Ontario we get from nuclear power. Switching to other sources is not that easy. They are not
that effective.
They are not very effective. Also, there are unorthodox ways, like the energy of the tides, like tides, the waves. But you can do it only where you have sea. Canada, eastern coast is getting the highest tides in the world. We have this Fundy Bay with the highest tide in the world, which is up to 15 meters high. I visited this place. It's quite impressive. So yes, there are the ways to use the tide to create some energy. There is a huge project that I don't know what will happen with it. Russians had at Okhotsk Sea, where they were going to use the energy of the seawater flowing in and out, and that's how they wanted to create the hydrogen and even export it. Hydrogen has another problem. It's very easily, it explodes when it is mixed with oxygen. Very highly volatile and very dangerous. So there's a problem how to transport it and how to store it. There are new methods where the hydrogen is infused into certain material where it is not explosive, but it's still in the development. On our channel, we have series of discussions with physicists about these issues, and actually they create heated discussions. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And the most problematic is that energy is the new gold. It is something which is used in politics as a major factor. And when the politics is in the picture, the scientific reasons are not taken into consideration anymore. It's the way of blackmailing by cutting off the energy sources. Those energy wars, we can actually see those traits in every major conflicts on Earth in last almost 100 years. Even the Second World War was very dependent on oil. And when you look at those battles and where the Nazis were trying to get, they were trying actually to get to the sources of oil for their army, and the Allies were trying to prevent them from that, and Soviets were trying to prevent them from that. So it's quite an old process of fighting around the sources of energy. Today's political shenanigans can be explained by the competition in the energy market. Look, like the natural gas and all those stories around it, and so on and so on.
Yes, I agree. The recent wars is about wars for energy. What we have now in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in Afghanistan, it's a competition for energy sources. And on my opinion, that's how China is going to extract cheap energy for themselves, controlling such areas like Iran, Afghanistan, and Russia itself. And even Ukraine now in the core of this conflict because of huge natural deposits of gas and oil discovered recently, and exactly one back in 2014, when Shell started to extract sources that was started actually because that was existential crisis for Russian economy. As soon as Ukraine substitute Russia in energy market in Europe, Russian economy would fall, right? Because it is built on oil and gas profits.
But as we can see now, even the fact that they are not able to sell anymore to European market, they switch it to other markets and trying to survive anyways. But you're
And this is
absolutely
why
right.
we today discuss this topic about energy supply, because it's in the very core of recent conflicts and wars and destruction and tenses, political tenses. And what is also interesting now that our dream about green energy really fails, in my opinion, because green energy is not that effective, as you said, as you mentioned, as nuclear energy. And the German
Nuclear
government
energy is green,
is
by the way.
criticized a lot because of their previous strategy of building green energy strategy for the country, and Germany really failed in it and fall into dependency from Russian energy supply, building on this wind power grids and solar power and that all. And even China failed when they probably they're the biggest in the human history project, the huge hydroelectric power station, which were built more than 20 years. And when it was planned, they thought it would cover about 20% of energy need of the country. And by the time it was built, it covered less than 6%, just because energy consumption increased dramatically. They even changed Earth's spin in space, but get really small results. And now China changed its energy strategy towards nuclear power and building a large amount of nuclear power plants. And as well as Great Britain, for example, they also approved these strategies, switching to nuclear power, despite of its great danger.
Again, this great danger is depicted in the news. It is quite safe. It is quite safe. The ways how it is built now, they're way safer than the Chernobyl version of the power plants. And it is green. They don't have real waste going out to the atmosphere. What we see when we drive by the nuclear plant is the steam. It's a steam. It's just clear, clean water steam coming out. It's not contamination. All right. The nuclear waste is not really waste. It can be used, reused. There are power plants that are actually working on the waste from the regular plants. Well, the plutonium that can be created can be the enriched nuclear material that can be used in weaponry again. So it's another danger, because if the country is developing their nuclear program, they can develop also their ability to create the nuclear weapon. But what we must say is that we are very stupid in so many ways, on so many levels. And we just able to demonstrate our intelligence outwardly, but the truth is, if we analyze what we use these energies for, how we live, how our society is organized, how the life is organized, and everything around it, we're very stupid. We still don't have answers to most pressing questions. How to live, what the consumption rates of different things should be for people. We still have enormous poverty on Earth. Billions of people living in outrageous environments, less than $1 per day. And before answering those all those questions, it's futile to discuss where it will all lead, because a lot of things, like when you discuss them within certain frames, they might make sense. But when you sit back and look at it from a little bit more distance, you see that it doesn't make sense. So that's the most problematic that we actually have. It's not where to get the energy, it's to answer why do we need that much energy, and how do we
going to direct that energy? We can create and we can ruin as well, and we do that.
Yeah, so we hide how stupid we are. That's pretty much maybe the best achievement that civilization has, to hide how stupid it is. But when you're trying to analyze things, you come to the conclusion that it is very stupid.
Let me ask you a challenging question. Let's assume that you have an endless, infinite source of energy, quite controllable and quite manageable. Where would you direct that home?
Me?
Yes.
I'm very disappointed about this world at all. Like, I don't think that it needs this source of energy. I think that within the frames of the way how we exist right now, we can do so much to reduce the suffering, to prevent the war, to make people live more normal, more fulfilling lives. And we do not need the endless source of energy, for real.
Would you create another world?
No, of course not. Creating the world.
Why not? Unless you have this infinite source of energy, so you can create worlds. Any other word?
Look, energy is not the key. If you have even a small needle, which is running with the speed of light, it can almost destroy the planet. Like, having the energy doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you efficient. It just having the energy. Even I would say that it's more dangerous. It's like you give to a little baby a piece of paper, and it's not much that he can make damage with. Or you give the matches, and the baby can start the fire. Or you can give something very dangerous that he can make the explosion. So I would say, if I have this a source of energy, I would not use it and try not to let anybody else use it. Energy, first of all, is the source of the destruction and not the creation. Yeah. So no, thank you, no. I don't want this source of endless source of energy for humanity or for anybody else. We even now we are abusing most of our technologies. We don't know how to live. We have tremendous amounts of suffering, tremendous amounts of idiocracy in all our systems, from political to health, from social to cultural, and we need to make sense of our lives first, than to demand even for more energy. We need to make sure that human beings are not dying of hunger, are not oppressed, are not used in sex trafficking, in slavery. Some numbers show that we have 40 million slaves on Earth right now, and maybe more. 40 million, almost the population of the country like Ukraine, like half population of Germany. People are in slavery, and probably there are even worse things that happening right now. When we see what happens, how easily the world can slide into the conflicts like the war, which is not local war, which is not just the war between Ukraine and Russia. It's a danger, the preliminary basis for the nuclear war and the world destruction. The rhetorics are very close to what can be done. It started with the discussion of Ukraine having the nuclear weapon. It continues with constant threats from Russia to use the nuclear weapon. When it was supposed to be out of the question at all, after 30 years of relative peaceful times. We all remember the times of the Cold War, where we waited for the world destruction every single day. We all remember that. And now we ended up again. And if in old times, at least we understood that it's somehow existential conflict between capitalism and socialism, even though both they're not that different, because the principles are to supply everything which is needed to sustain life of a human being, both social system or capitalist system or communist system or feudal system or any other system. They all have the same simple aim to supply everything which is needed in order to sustain life in the society. It's not the reason to create a situation when every morning we can wake up to the world which is being destroyed by nuclear war. So people are so stupid, are so irrelevant, are so childish in a bad way, so animalistic, close to the bad side of the animal nature, where the alpha males are trying to demonstrate their balls by fighting each other, and others are just fueling those wars to continue. The stupidity of 2-3 years of pandemics, when now we all see that the excessive mortality was 9 million people died. The World Health Organization has reports that during the pandemics, only 6 million people died of COVID. And there is excessive deaths of extra 9 million people because of those measures that were taken to contain the pandemics. And this should be the first news. We should have the Nuremberg process against those that have been taking those measures that has led to the death, to the extra 9 million people deaths. It's something, right? But nobody is paying attention to it. It just on the side burner of the news. So in such circumstances, the discussion of the innovative ways how to provide energy to humanity, there is no humanity. There is a bunch of highly stupid, highly aggressive, highly irrelevant creatures. There's no humanity, guys. We are all idiots. Less energy we get, better it is. Because all we do with this energy is killing each other and doing the stupid thing. So we started our discussion with a very plain, vanilla sort of information that everybody, schoolboy or schoolgirl, knows. And we ended it in, I would say, Kriger style. As
a fundamental problem statement.
Yeah, with
yes,
the statement that
I agree with you very much. I believe you are right, because even if we imagine a situation that energy supply is equally distributed among countries, say each country has its oil and gas production in sufficient amount, it will not stop wars at all. It even enhance wars, because there will be always someone who wants to control that all, to possess his control on all the distribution. So the problem is not the energy supply, but the problem is of this egoist intention to possess the control of that energy and then distribute it yourself, but benefit in one way. That would be the problem.
Problem is
we get new energy source and say, okay, now humanity is free from competition. Let's say we put this energy source in every single city, every single town, every single village. Anyway, there will be people who started to fight for this own energy sources, even when they free, accessible, and equally distributed. And
I was always writing of the future.
To withdraw it from everybody use and control distribution yourself, benefit in one way, we come to the same result again.
I was always writing of the future, about the future, and I was supporting the idea that the national states, the supranational companies, they will be losing their power, because every single individual is gaining more power through the internet, through the ways. And also it has been said that they will resist losing their power. And that's what we are witnessing now. Through these pandemics and through this situation with the war, we again witness the reduction of the freedoms, closing necessary connections between the people in different nations, inability to send the postal shipment to Russia. That's the stupidest thing that probably didn't happen even in the worst of times. Breaking all the connections, putting the whole nation into the isolation, and actually all those measures that we are witnessing right now, that they're just making Russia more and more dangerous. They're throwing all those millions of people by not letting them out, not letting them to work and communicate. They're throwing them into the arms of the bloodthirsty tyrants, even giving them even more power on these people that are restrained in the country. So again and again, it's very idiotic. I explain it that the most problematic thing is to put the human mind, the developed mind, into the animal body, and that's the most problematic that we have. And even if we go towards the artificial intelligent or virtual worlds, still we will have this physical base that can be destroyed, that you can blackmail, that you can disconnect. And that's the most problematic thing. If we would be completely dependent from each other, the people would not be able to kill each other, to use force against each other, to dupe each other, to trick each other, molest each other. That would be better, way better. But the fact is that we all are the prisoners of our bodies, the prisoners of the physical world. And one of the major chains that chain us to this prison is the energy, because energy is something that allows to blackmail us. You don't give us heat, we die of cold. You don't give us food, we die of starvation, which is also the lack of energy. So here we go.
I would see here another fundamental problem, which I would call a zero-sum game mindset. And this mindset is really very deep in us. Why? Because even the model of thermodynamics is built like a zero-sum game. The two laws of thermodynamics show us the system, which is closed system, and postulate us the law of conservation of energy in that system. And we all, humanity, believe in a zero-sum game that you can benefit only for the cost of others. And there are some scientists who declare that actually universe is open system and it constantly grows. And they even challenge those laws of thermodynamics, postulating that they work only in this system where we live on the Earth, but in scale of universe, they do not work. But actually, all our science, all our education, all intellectual works we do are built in the model of zero-sum game. And that's the problem. We will always compete until we believe in ubiquitous scarcity.
The thermodynamics is a theoretical construction. we do not know any closed system in the universe. Even the black holes emit radiation, so-called Hawking radiation. You don't have any closed systems. When you're talking about the universe as a whole, we don't know what universe is, what kind of system it is. We only have cosmological theories, and it's definitely not closed system. We have this black energy, dark energy that makes it to expand. So the amount of energy is actually growing, otherwise it wouldn't be keep expanding or something like that. We are talking about the vacuum energy, which in the absolutely empty space, there are some energetic processes that are created. There are virtual particles that pop into existence and disappear all the time. So yes, thermodynamics laws are correct at some degree of the practicality, but they are not true because there are no closed systems. Energy escapes any system and it gets system from outside. So we are talking about the universe of the open systems, where humans and life towards the energy, it's always open system. It's a concept how to organize the matter. It's not the matter itself. We adjust the concepts of the organization of the matter. We are the concept that are sitting on the flow of energy and the flow of the matter. There is illusion that we are constant. We are not. We are changing all the time. We're exchanging energy, and the matter that we are consist of is constantly changing, going out of our bodies and coming into our bodies. So we are just the concepts. We are not really material creatures. And in such situation, talking about the scarcity of resources and other things, again, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant in so many ways. Usually it is created either artificially or because of some sort of malignant events, right? When we don't have enough resources. Also, even if we have enough resources, we all going to die. Doesn't matter how fat we get, we all going to get decomposed this way or another, right? So I'm coming from the notion that the world is an imperfect creation, which doesn't make sense to us, especially because we have our independent mind when it processes the view of the world and the way how we position ourselves in our body and in this world. It's dissatisfactory for our minds, and that's the most problematic thing. Probably, if you remove our mind from this world, it can be considered perfect and ideal. But by putting our mind into this world, you make it imperfect. And that's the major tragedy of human existence, that our mind cannot perceive the world as a harmonic place. No matter what, because it is inserted in such way to this world that it will always be in conflict with the time, with the space, with the energy, and everything else. Here we can recall what Jesus Christ said, I am not from this world. Our minds are not from this world. We are not from this world, and we never feel at home in this world. Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting discussion as always.
Thank you.